pointed at me once. I'm just going to give myself a cue here. In 3, 2. And welcome to the Stars of ACW Home video series. I'm Jason Jerry. With me here, the star of our first installment, Straight Edge, Eric Hammers, former ACW Tag Team Champion, former television champion. Eric Hammers, tell us a little bit about who you are in real life.
Well, I'm a barber. I work only about 30 hours a week because working's not that cool, but I make good money, so it's all good with me. I play in a hardcore band called Remission. Also play in another hardcore band called Mannerism. And I also professionally wrestle. So that'd be the three things I do as far as life goes, so to speak. Takes up pretty much all my time.
Exactly what is Straight Edge?
Straight Edge, well, if you ride from an early DC hardcore band called Minor Threat that started back out of the punk scene, and it's just not drinking and doing drugs and having one-night stands.
And that's a shoot? You actually live the straight edge lifestyle?
Well, I've been straight edge for 11 years. Started at about 19. It actually originally started, my friend Nigel, who used to live with me, got completely wasted one night, and I had to work third shift. I came home in the morning. There was blood footprints going out of the basement. I found my friend laying actually in a pool of blood, completely drenched in blood. He actually rolled himself up in a leopard print blanket, and it's the only reason he lived because he almost cut his hand completely off with a butcher knife in a drunken haze or whatever he was doing. And after visually seeing that, we had to call 911. He actually lived through the whole thing. He got more stitches than an average shark attack. But visually seeing that, I was like, wow, that sucks. Then my friend Danny Wheelock died. He got T-boned in a car accident, drunken driving. He was gone. Aaron Jacoby, my friend, got electrocuted, fell off a power tower. He died. After a while, like, the scene that I grew up with started disappearing, so to speak. And I just eventually said, that's enough of that. Like, partying is cool and all, but it's not for me because I've seen the bad side of it, I guess.
So you don't really, it's not an arrogant attitude at all towards people that live that lifestyle. You just distance yourself from it?
Just me personally, like, I don't even mind being around it. It's just for me, like, I don't want to end up like that.
Mm-hmm.
And being like, my personality is fairly intense in general. So whatever I do it to the point where I usually either go nuts or, you know what I mean, get sick of whatever I'm doing because I do it so intensely.
I can't imagine living the quote-unquote life of a rock star, even though you're far from a rock star, or at least as close as it comes to in this kind of scene. I can't imagine living that life and being straight edge at the same time. Tell us a little bit about your music. What do you do with your band?
I play in Remission, which is a hardcore band. It started out in 1995. And back when we played shows back then, stuff got a bit wild, a bit crazy. This, like, everybody slam dances, piles on top of you, knocks all your crap down, and you got to push the crowd back while you're playing. And even now in 2001, we're actually still a band. And Stomper Slade, the other wrestler for ACW, is the singer. And I play guitar, but when we started out, we were just two singers, so I get even more in the crowd back in the day. And I'm also in another band called Mannerism that we started because it's more high-tech. Like, Remission's really straightforward, old-school hardcore. Mannerism's like really new school, high-tech. It's got a lot of metal in it. It's just a technical, social, political band, I'd say. We're actually probably going to Europe in summer for like a while. Our record label, Yellow Dog, wants us to go there. And one of the other bands just got back from Europe, and we played with them. So, wild and crazy times on the road.
So how did you get involved in wrestling? You're obviously a smaller guy. You run into you on the street. You don't look like a wrestler. The punk rocker that we see, but not a wrestler. How did you get into that scene?
It actually started through punk rock, though. Because I call my friend Tom, Time Bomb Tom, who did the interview segment, he set up Incredibly Strange Wrestling at the Concert Cafe, the actual same building that ACW ran their first show. And it was backyard crap. I went to it, bands played in between, and I was just like, I could honestly do a better job athletically than all these guys wrestling on the show. It was a bunch of fat, like, out of shape alcoholics, spitting beer and ridiculous. It just sucked. It was no talent, no technique, no nothing. Crap, pretty much. But Time Bomb Tom was a wrestler that got trained by Chris Bassett out of Packerland Pro Wrestling. And I went in Time Bomb Tom's store the next day, and right as I was in there, Time Bomb Tom got a call from Chris Bassett about advertising or promotional things or something, because he did Packerland Pro Wrestling. and I got his phone number, gave him a call, went to his camp, did a tryout, and I got Mike Mercury and Dan Toma, who completely beat the crap out of me at my tryout. Like, I thought, you know, you just work together, it'll be easy. They throw me in, I come back, I get clothesline, and Mike Mercury punches me in the stomach super hard, and I collapsed. A little bit later, they're like, okay, take your shirt off, this is time for chops. So Danny Toma, weighing about 250 pounds, winds up and sternum chops me with just palm thrust. I already broke my sternum. I laid in pain for about 20 minutes and couldn't breathe. And then after I got okay, they just bumped the shit out of us the whole rest of the day. And that was how I got trained in wrestling. And my first debut match, I debuted against Tony the Annihilator. I actually had nightmares of Tony the Annihilator crushing my head, because this guy is a monster. He's like, I don't know, what is he, 365, completely ripped, giant black dude. And then his partner was Conan the Dark Rider against me and Ice Walters. And Ice Walters is about 210. But the match was pretty special. I actually had help. As far as the idea for the match, I stayed out of the ring for 90% of the match. As soon as I got beat up, I tagged out and I wouldn't tag back in. So I let Ice get beat up the whole rest of the time. That was my debut.
Yeah. So who have you all worked for since then? I mean, you've worked for a ton of different promotions. Tell me a little bit about it, and shoot with us a little bit on who you like working for and who you didn't like working for.
Well, I worked for WTW out of Minnesota. Like, I worked for Packerland. They only did 2 shows with them. I had a separated shoulder joint at the second show. So actually all I did was ref, like the second show, because I couldn't move my arm. And then I did a little bit with WTW out in Minnesota. I wasn't ready for TV. I wasn't ready. I didn't know how to work a match. I didn't know theory. I couldn't tell a story. My moves were all random. Because all I pretty much knew by then is how to bump and protect myself. And that was kind of like the basics. You know, I knew how to do a lock up and a hip toss and arm break, just the basics, and that's all I really had. I worked for Badger State after that, after WTW, because that was like, it was a promotion that would pretty much take anyone. And due to the lack of my size, and I didn't know, like, really anything virtually. But Dino Bambino was already there, Mike Mercury was there, Mike Mercury actually brought me in there. And then I got lots of work. Like, they would use you could work as much as you want, you could try new things. That's where, like, Armani worked there, Angel Armani, and, like, that's where I started learning theory from all those guys pretty much. And then the sheets, I just read the sheets over and studied up matches and made sure every move meant something. And it's actually a lot harder to work a wrestling match in a work style than it is to actually really do a shoot with someone. Because if I really hurt your knee's going to hurt. You get up, you're going to limp. If I beat on your knee in the beginning of the match or towards the end, you got to remember your knee hurts, which is a lot harder to do when you've done like so much stuff in between there. And after I was done at Badger State, I got to think where the hell I all worked. I got Mike Mercury's car broke down, and I worked at the NAWF. I got his spot because his car broke down, and he had to go back home. So I got his spot, and I worked there at Freedom, and I learned a lot from Freedom. They had me do a bunch of segments against Freedom, and then not Dizoink, but a guy dressed up in a clown outfit meant to resemble him. I worked him a lot. I did like learn how to do tunes and how to do comedy spots and stuff like that. After that, I worked a show for Wilton in Milwaukee, and I worked Judge Jesse, and it was really a match when I finally learned how to tell a story. It was the first time I actually told a story, and it was in front of like probably 600 people, and we lit the crowd up. It was like the first match where I really felt like, oh yeah, I get this. You know what I mean? Even though, because like before then I was always getting carried along. Mike Mercury would tell me what we're going to do. Like Angel Armani would say, we're doing this. Dino Bambino would say, we're doing this. But even though I debuted with them, they kind of had more experience than I did just because they wrestled more places until I kind of like tagged along and got in the right place at the right time. Right around that time, Mike Mercury started ACW. And the debut of ACW, I actually started it with him. And then I pulled back, and then he ran it from there on out. And so I got a lot of work in ACW. I've been working here for 2 years now. And it's definitely the most fun place to work because the locker room is really tame. Everybody gets along, and it's a solid place to work. It's solid work in front of really big crowds for the most part. Any TV tapings are like 500 plus. So, and I like the storylines. I like the angles. I like who I'm working with.
In all the federations you've worked for in your years in the business, who are the best workers in your opinion? What's the best you've seen? Who's the best in the Midwest?
It's kind of a toss-up between what you're looking for. It really depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for old school, I'd say Adrian Lynch. If you're looking for an old school standard match that's going to tell a story. If you're looking for brawling, you got to look for Cujo or Horace the Psychopath. Because you're going to get a story, but you're going to get lots of brawling. If you're looking for like just a genuine worked match, I'd say Adam Pearce's theory is pretty down pat, even though he gets a lot wild and crazy as far as personality goes. He's a bit intense. I'd say Dino Bambino's one of your top. Cole Cabana, CM Punk, Ken Anderson is one of your top. So I'd say those are the top guys that I watch right now. As far as depending on what you're looking for, like I said, if you're looking for hardcore, you got to go with Ian Rotten and Hardcore Craig. Was one of the best matches I've ever seen because it was hardcore, it was nuts, blood, glass, this, that, and the other, but they still told a story. But I'm just not really into the. I'm not the type of guy that likes hardcore for the sake of hardcore. I hate hardcore belts because it eliminates a ton of things you can do. Like, what can you do when there's a hardcore belt? You can't have a 2 out of 3 tables match because tables might be used in every match now. You can't lead to anything, and it kind of goes nowhere. Like,
you brought up belts.
Sure.
You were the Cruiserweight champion in NAWF for a while, correct?
Yeah.
ACW never had a Cruiserweight belt, even though it could have been specifically geared towards you. Why didn't we ever have one?
It was limited. When I worked in the NAWF as a Cruiserweight champion, who can I fight? I can only fight Cruiserweights. But I can work almost better matches if you put me against a bigger man. Like somebody who can toss me and throw me around and have a different style. Like you put me and Big Daddy Loker in the ring, so for example. When Big Daddy Loker debuted as a heel, the guy gorilla pressed me and threw me from corner to corner. Well, you're not going to get that out of Cruiserweights. And after a while, like too many of the Cruiserweights just depend on flippy and don't tell a story. And as we saw with the WCW, the tag team Cruiserweights, the crowd didn't care. Like it doesn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? Bam Bam Bigelow and Spike Dudley though lit up the ECW arena when they had their segments together, and it's just limited. You can't go anywhere. Who's gonna have it? Me, Sean Devari, and Stomper Slade, and that's it. But past that, you can't really. Can I feud with Mitch Paradise with it? No. Can I feud with even like Ken Anderson with it? No. You know, I can't. It's really limited, and that's. I don't like Cruiserweight belts, to be honest, either. It's just too limited.
You recently, for the first time in ACW, made a heel turn. You'd been a face up to that point. Which do you prefer working?
I much prefer working heel. And I would just say I'm a natural-born heel. Like, I'm punk rock. You know what I mean? Not to sound cliche or anything, but I've been into punk since 15 and I'm 30 now, so it's like 15 years of being in a subculture that is not socially acceptable. And you got to remember, when I got into punk rock, it was 1986. It wasn't okay to have blue hair. It wasn't okay to have earrings. The jocks had mullets, big combs in their back pockets, and tight wound pants. Like they weren't okay with you looking punk because there weren't any punk rockers really around. And the ones that were like here and there. Like it was before Green Day made it like okay and safe. Like, you got beat up in my high school for being punk. Like, we get in fistfights all the time with people. So, just my cockiness, I have a really dry sense of humor. I like going in places and messing with people. I like ordering food from waitress and then throwing it in a shitter to them. And the waitress will go, what? And then you just start repeating the waitress from there on out and they get confused. But a lot of my stuff is, like, harmless cockiness. Like, the other person I usually pick on has no idea I'm picking on them and just looks befuddled by the whole situation. So I think it's funny. I don't know.
You're a natural heel by default. What do you think the crowd takes to more when you do it? 'Cause you were over as a face. All you had to do is throw up the sign and you would have at least 20 people in the front section there doing it right back at you. How do you think the whole heel thing's going to work for you?
I think it will work because, like, I think a lot of different federations that, like, use guys that were wrong. Like, if you look at Austin, when did Austin get popular? Austin got popular when he was the ringmaster. And he was allowed to do whatever he wants. Like, as a heel, you're not limited. As a babyface, you have to be liked, so you can only do what's liked, and you only shadow off the heel for anything you're going to do on a TV show, so to speak. It's a little different in front of a live crowd, but on a TV show, you're just shadowing off whatever the heel does. And as a heel, I can say something a little bit dickheaded. I can say something kind of nice and say whatever I want to say. But as a baby, I'm always like, oh, who is this going to offend? Who's this going to make mad? And another part of my sense of humor is I really like stressing people out. Like Buzzsaw Brad Hunter. One of my other friends actually have recent just committed suicide. He hung himself. He was my best friend in high school, Richie, and that's a long story that I don't even want to get into. And anyways, he passed away probably like a month earlier, and I wrestled this Buzzsaw Brad Hunter. When I met him, I'm like, hey man, you look exactly like my best friend from high school. And a month after he died, like, Buzzsaw was in the locker room, Jake the Milkman, Millman, Tough Tom, and a bunch of guys. I go, hey, Buzzsaw, remember I told you look like my buddy Richie? And he's like, yeah. I go, yeah, he killed himself. He's dead. And the whole locker room sucked all the air out. We lost cabin pressure, so to speak. So I thought it was pretty funny, and the whole place just kind of went, that's kind of not so right. But, I mean, I meant no disrespect towards my best friend, but you know what I mean? It was just, I thought it was really funny to watch everybody get completely stressed out. So, as a heel, you don't have to be liked, so it doesn't matter what the ACW fans think. Like, if they don't like me, that'll work. That'll work into my favor. If they like me, eventually I turn back face, and that works even more into my favor. And it gives me direction. When you start out as a heel, you do whatever the hell you want. You start out as a face, you wait till your opponent sets the tone for the match. And as a babyface, I was only over for everyone I wrestled. Every GQ centerfold, Travis Lee, Matt Longtime, every time I Mark Mercury, Rockin' Randy, Jason the Predator, like, even Adam Pearce, you name it, like, the more the crowds disliked them, the more they liked me. So that's just a rub from who I'm working, and Adrian Lynch, anyone, you know what I mean, that I feuded with in ECW, pretty much made my character popular. I give, like, a babyface way more credit for, you know what I mean, like, who I had to work with than I do so much as what I was doing. Kevin Kruger's another one, as far as, like, top guys in the Midwest. I always have solid matches with him.
What do you think has been your best match so far?
Well,
and what's the highlight of your career, or are they two separate things?
No, they're definitely two separate things. The highlight of my career, like, they just keep topping themselves. Like, I never thought I'd even get this far, you know, to be perfectly honest. Like, I did a lot of stuff amateur. Like, I amateur wrestled for 7 years. I was in, like, karate for years and years. I was in judo. I was a sponsored skateboarder on the AM circuit when I was younger, and I still skate, actually, like 15 years later. But I never thought I'd even get as far as I did. And ACW, like, probably the biggest thing was being on TV. Having a run on TV for, like, a year. Now ACW has another contract, so there'll be another run on TV. NAWF just got TV. And I wrestled down in NWA. Actually, going down to Memphis was pretty cool. I went down to Memphis twice and wrestled on NWA TV against Air Paris, and then I saw him on WCW maybe 2 weeks later. And I was like, wow, that was, you know, it was a good, solid match, and it told a story, so that was enjoyable. But I'd definitely say just a TV, a good angle. Anytime the storyline's hot and you have the crowd, and, you know, have the crowd by the ball, so to speak, and everyone's just on the edge of their seats wondering, where is this going, what's going to happen next, and then you swerve them, and the whole crowd's like, I didn't see that coming. And just to lighten up the crowd, pretty much.
Well, we got to chop this thing up anyway.
Cool.
You just want to start telling me some stories?
All right, let me look at the sheets, though.
Yeah. Will, why don't you put that camera down, tighten up the two-shot so it's close on
How was
camera.
that so far?
Good. Because this will be a lot less of me.
Huh? Am I?
I know I was a hell of a lot more than you. I do that.
Want to go in the kicked out of high school gimmick or not?
Actually, first I was going to ask you. I think it's surprising how a lot of guys in the independent scene actually have egos that sometimes run unchecked. I'm sure you have a good story there in there somewhere about someone with a large ego who maybe shouldn't have had one?
Well, I have stories about lots of crazy guys, but I ain't using names. One of the matches I had fairly recently, my opponent came out, and first he started getting heat. But, I mean, you can swear on this tape, but, like, you can't swear at a lot of live events because there's a lot of children there, etc. Swearing out the gates, gets in the ring, gonna wrestle me. Gets back out and shoves a kid into his chair. This is at a federation out of southern Wisconsin, so to speak. And shoves a kid into the chair. The dad gets mad, starts arguing with him. He jumps back down. First he kissed the dad on the cheek. Dad got mad, started screaming. He slugged the dad in the face. The dad slugged him a couple of times. Security broke the whole thing up while I'm sitting in the ring. So I started taking bumps by myself because I was just waiting for the shenanigans to get over with. And, I mean, I had a great match with the guy, and I didn't mind anything because I don't own the promotion, and I just work there, so it's no skin off my back. But it was a little ridiculous sitting in the ring waiting for, like, an entire fist fight to end with all the fans. So it's not so much like an ego thing, but like I just don't know where it was going. There's actually another story that I'd like to add in that of craziness. We're in the locker room, and two guys had to drop belts, and they got really, really mad about it. So they got completely tanked. They're in the locker room hanging out. One of them's butt naked. Another one wraps tape around his dick. He's dancing around. Then he pulls out a 9mm and starts waving around the locker room. Everyone gets totally stressed out. And at about this point, I just left the locker room and was like, that's a bit much for even me. I was like, I don't need a pistol waved around. That was actually when I kind of got stressed. I don't know if that's so much ego. It's just like some people are just wild and crazy and living the life, I guess.
Mm-hmm. How about the time you had to act as a certain escort to a restroom?
Oh.
To me, that sounded like an ego.
That was definitely an ego.
You gonna use names yet?
Yeah, I can use names for that. I was at a wrestling federation in Clare, Wisconsin, and a wrestler named Sabat, who is pretty much a Shawn Michaels ripoff. A nice guy, but his gimmick just he wears the same gear, does the super kick, the whole 9 yards. And Sabat comes up to me in the locker room, and it was actually a show I was wrestling on because I did commentary for them once or twice, and then they finally let me wrestle. I was like, cool. And Sabat comes up to me with a dead serious look on his face and goes, "Dude, are you busy?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "There's a lot of crazy and wild marks here, and I don't want to get attacked or anything, so will you escort me to the bathroom?" Are you kidding, Sabat? I'm like, "Are you serious?" The guy was dead serious. And I was like, "Dude, you got to be kidding me. Are you serious?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I could get attacked or something." And so, being as ridiculous as it was, I was like, I'll just play along with it. Okay, dude, whatever. You're a complete loon, but okay. Yeah, I'll escort you to the bathroom and make sure no marks attack you or anything, because I know on the independent circuit with these 500 people here, you are a big superstar, nationally known in your own head. So we walked down the hall. He gets in the bathroom and he goes, "Let me check the bathroom to make sure no one's there." Goes in the public bathroom, comes back out, and he goes, "Okay, watch the door." I'm like, You go ahead and urinate. I got your back. It's all good, buddy. So, and like, the guy went in there and pissed or whatever, and then I just left. Like, I let him in the bathroom anyways, because I was like, holy shit, that's enough of that silliness. I couldn't even play along with it because I was laughing by then anyways. As soon as he walked in the bathroom, I was like, why can't there be cameras for this? This is right out of like some 80s movie, like some 80s ridiculous movie.
When did Sabat get his call up to WWF?
I think it was last Never.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when he got the call. Sabat. What the hell is a Sabat?
What the heck is Shifty?
Swifty? No way. Shifty's a cool name.
I know. Kind of student were you in high school?
Well, I got to be honest with you. Actually, my whole heel, being a heel in real life all started there. And it all started from, actually, I have a cousin who looks a lot like me. And I was sitting down at Thanksgiving, he started telling a story of him getting in trouble. And I'm like, hey, we all get old someday. I want to have stories. And having panic disorder, I couldn't sit still in class. I couldn't pay attention. I had ADD, the whole 9 yards. And I wasn't about to go in LD classes, so I sat in the normal classes and just cheated, did whatever. However, I get through class. There's always another way. So I do it. And one day I was in a foods class, and the main jock was Scott Pritzel, I think his name was. And I'm like, come here, Scott. Take this rubber band, lock it around the hose, and whoever turns on the faucets will get completely hosed down. It'll be cool. It'll be amusing. He's like, no way, dude, I'll get in trouble. He's like, I don't ever get in trouble. I go, who are they going to think did it, you or me? It's like, well, they're going to think you did it. I'm like, great. Then you're not going to get in trouble. So he goes over to my kitchen. He locks the rubber band down, got a pointed face. 2 seconds later, our teacher walks over. She's messing with the faucet, and the dude runs over and is trying to clean next to her to get the rubber band out the faucet. She turns both of them on full blast and just gets hosed down. Keep in mind, she had these little sheep on her shirt and said, ba, ba, ba on her shirt. So this lady gets completely soaked. She turns around, and she's like blocking the water instead of shutting it off. Turns around, and I go, ba, ba. And she totally freaks out, comes over, grabs me by the head. You think that's funny? You get the hell out of my class, da, da, da. And I'm like, ma'am, I didn't do it. I may have made fun of the sheep, but I didn't spray you with the water. She's like, okay, who did it? And I'm like, I cannot lie. Scott did it. Pointed right at the guy's head. Guy totally freaked out. He's like, I didn't do it. So I got kicked out. So it was 2 days later, and the lady's pulling out of school. And I'm off school grounds. I'm on the other side. She pulls around the corner, and I see her car, and I go, fuck you, right to her window as she drove by, because I failed that entire semester because of that incident. I actually didn't do it, so I flip her off after school, whatever. Like, we're off school grounds. What can she do? Next day, I get called down to the office. It's like third hour, and I forgot I even did this because, I was a huge cock anyways. Being little and being punk rocker, you get knocked around, so you're cocking off to rednecks and jocks all day long anyways. Eric Pluckin, please come down to the office. Eric Pluckin. And I'm like, okay, what the hell did I do now? Probably something retarded. I go down there, and the vice principal's down there, ex-military man, very serious, not so into my punk attire. Get in my office, sit down. Seems to me you flipped off one of our teachers, and you're going to have to serve some detention time for that. I said, no, I flipped off one of your teachers off school grounds after school hours. I'm not serving any detention time for that. And he goes, well, we have some papers for you here we want you to sign. And you'll serve some detention time for that. No, I'm not serving any detention time for that. He goes, okay, then we're going to call your parents. And pulls out the phone. I go, let me dial the number for you. I reach over, yanks the phone out, throws it in his desk, slams it. He goes, sign these papers. And now this guy's leaning over on me. I'm like, dude, why don't you sign the papers? I'll think about going to detention, and we'll work through this. Guy's not amused by now. Shoves the desk like into me. And I'm like, calm down, dude. And he's like, you will sign these papers right now or get the hell out of my school. I looked him right in the eyes and said, when did you buy the school, dude? And he wasn't too impressed at a 16-year-old kid being cocky. So he grabbed me by the neck, ran me into the wall, opens up the door, runs me all the way down the office, and throws me down the stairs. He's like, you are never coming back into school, yada, 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 yada. Well, there's laws against that, so of course my mom came back down and told him he better not ever touch me again. And if I want to call my parents, he better let me because that's unlawful and she'll sue his ass. Then I got right back into school and I had a grin from ear to ear because from there on out, nobody could touch me and I could do whatever I wanted. So I got in even more trouble from there on out.
That's not the only time you had a run-in with certain authority figures, is it? You had some problems with the police in the past.
Yeah, actually a wrestling time. I had those little snacks with the crackers and the turkey and whatever the hell it is, Snackums or whatever the hell they're called.
Lunchables?
Lunchables, okay. So I'm down in a ton of Lunchables, and it's so not agreeing with my stomach. I'm getting sicker. Me and Mike Mercury, are riding together, and we were like wrestling 3-4 hours away, and we were late as hell as it is. So we're racing to get to the show, and I'm getting sick to my stomach. I'm like, I gotta take a shit. I'm gonna piss right out my ass if I don't get out of this van right now. So I pull the van over on the highway, lock it up, get out, and I run out into the woods. I shit my brains out, trying to find leaves and stuff to clean myself up, and I'm just like, this just sucks. Just pissed right out my ass. I start walking back. As soon as I get back, the cop car pulls up behind us. Woo! Cop gets out. What are you doing? Shines a light on me. I'm like, I was going to the bathroom, sir. Shines a light on the path that I just came out of, and beer cans are just everywhere. And I didn't actually see the beer cans going down because it was jet black. I just ran down into the woods, and it was like a little path going down, but whoever was there was partying before me. And he's like, sure, those aren't yours. Come here. Give me your ID. Who else is in that car? Get him out here. Give me his ID. Tell him to get out here. So I would get Mike. Mike at the time just finally grew out his hair, so it's like a punk rocker and some hippie-looking guy, all parked on the side of the road, beer cans everywhere. The cops thinking we're totally up to something. Takes both our IDs, calls in to see if any of us had any warrants out for anything. Then he's like, whoa, what's in your van? And we're like, I don't know, dude. He goes, well, can I search your van? I'm like, probably not, because if you search my van, I know the laws. You're going to unload all of my crap in my van, my band gear, my wrestling gear, all over the frickin' road. Then you're going to leave when you don't find anything. Then I'm going to have to load it all back up myself. We're actually pro wrestlers and we're late for a show. He's like, you're pro wrestlers. Right, looking at me and Mike, and we're like, hey, we got to go and we're in a hurry. We didn't do anything wrong. Like, you can take breathalyzer on us, whatever. We got to get the hell out of here. So he goes, no, I have to search your van right and let you leave. So we open up the van, starts digging through and finds my nunchucks, which was part of my gimmick, thanks I do the martial arts thing. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is an illegal weapon, and starts bitching about the nunchucks. And I'm like, dude, it's part of the gimmick. Look at these glossy boots. Like, do you think karate guys have glossy boots? No, we're pro wrestlers. It's all good. And he's like, all right. Well, you get that out of your van, though. Next stop you have, blah, blah, blah. Make sure you leave that at home. The guy was kind of a dick about it. And we left, and then we went to a gas station. I actually went into the bathrooms at the gas station, take care of the rest of my business. And as I come out, there's like two guys throwing a midget around back and forth to each other. And Mike Mercury's definitely afraid of midgets. So I found it even more amusing that I come out and they're having midget balls going on in the parking lot. It was a very surreal night, so to speak. We actually made it to show super late. We had 5 minutes to change, and they made us wrestle each other, and we got through the match. Uh-huh. Although I kicked Mike in the face and almost knocked him out in that match on accident because he didn't have his glasses, he can't see. So
yeah, that's fine.
And that's the run-in with that.
Covered all your stories. What is the judo story?
When I first started judo, I had an instructor named Henry who like fought in the U.S. Opens for judo and tournaments all through his entire life. Wore the black belt, but he said they didn't use belts in like where he was trained in Japan and stuff. So I go to the dojo. I'm gonna work out, and I know submission fighting. I knew like taekwondo, some karate, amateur wrestling. So I knew like a couple different things. So Henry wants me to learn his way. And I got a little big in my britches, and I'm just like, he wanted to do okimi, which is free fighting in judo. So we lock up, we go. And I'm not tapping out. This guy's beating the living shit out of me. I ended up actually getting my nipple ring bent and pulled out of my nipple, so I had blood all down the front of my chest. He was trying to choke me out. He ripped my shirt completely in half. And I still didn't tap out. And finally, he had me in, like, I almost had him in an arm bar, and he bent my head completely over backwards. Where my spine was going anymore, I was probably not going to be doing so okay. So I tapped out finally. And that was actually like my second day of judo class. And after that, I listened to anything Henry had to say. So he definitely rearranged my attitude that day.
Let's stop for a second. Now, actually, what we're watching here, Eric, is you tag teaming with Brad Hammers. You've been tag teaming with him for quite some time in ACW. This is actually the first time we taped it. This is the pilot for ACW TV.
Right.
You and Brad Hammers against the GQ Centerfolds. Tell us a little bit about working this match.
Well, that was actually one of the best tag team matches I think I ever had, honestly. It was hands down. All the ideas, everybody worked together for all the ideas for the match, and the match really told a story. And I think we were actually the main event that night. I don't like working mains because I'm small. You know what I mean? I'd rather have a bigger guy with a body that doesn't hide himself in karate gear or whatever, working the mains. But it was one of the matches that I felt solid about. I felt really proud when we got done. Everybody did their part, and it all the timing and stuff was down. You know what I mean? And that was a big thing. I would get nervous because, like, Brad still wrestled very green, and he was great for the hot tag. He could come to do his clotheslines, do his little bit. But if you had Brad in the ring too long, he started getting the puzzled look on his face, and he's actually right on the number tonight. So it was definitely one of the better tag team matches, if not the best tag team match I've ever been in.
From here, we go to UWGB, the first Maximum Detention. You're coming off your tag team title win. You have the rematch against the GQ Centerfolds. Again, you're in the main event, and this is a show that featured the likes of Haku/Mang, Jerry Lynn. I'm going to start that again. Now, from here, we go to UWGB, Maximum Detention, the debut of ACW TV. You're in the main event again against the GQ Centerfolds. This is a show that featured Haku/Mang, Simon Diamond, Jerry Lynn, George the Animal Steel. Yet you're in the main. Tell us a little bit about this match.
That, I was notified I was in the main, I think, only like a day or two before, and I was like, how are we going to follow that up? The crowd will be so unimpressed. But actually, well, the GQ Centerfolds are heat machines. They were an ingenious tag team put together, even though it's kind of over with now and stuff. And as soon as they went out with Stefano was the mouthpiece, and even Matt Longtime and Travis Lee are very talented, talking like they were just heat. They worked perfectly. They did their whole gimmick and stuff, and the crowd just ate it up. So once we got into the match, we told a fairly good story that night. I don't think it was as hot as Rockwood, but it was a good, solid match. It was a match that I would definitely use on a demo or something that I'd be proud enough of, because the theory and the stuff was all there. It was a little weird because I think that was the first time they did use earpieces for timing. Mm-hmm. So I have the referee, 1 minute left, and you're like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, haven't heard this, like, except the one time I was in Memphis. But overall, it was a good match, and the crowd ate it up, so I was actually very happy once it ended. I was surprised the crowd was still there, and we had them.
Road to the Gold 2000. You take on Mike Mercury and Rockin' Randy for the tag belts. Not a match you're particularly proud of, but a storyline that you are.
Well, they stole the belts, so I liked the ending. Like, we went over, but they got the belts, and they stole the belts. And the angle, it started to give an actual, like, a little bit of a storyline. So that was kind of nice, and it's much easier if heels have belts and faces have belts, because you can have the baby chase the heels. And so it was almost like that, even though we still had the belts. It made for good TV, because they could cut promos saying, like Rockin' Randy, we are the tag team champions, only in America, and flex his boobs at the camera, and everybody laughs. It's funny. Mike Mercury doing his goofy acting. It was good stuff. So the match overall was just okay. Like, it didn't have, like, I don't even know if I even did a halo in that match. I think I might have, but it was toned down more, and it wasn't bad. Actually, the follow-up match was pretty special, but this was an okay match. There's nothing to write home about, but it's part of the storyline. So,
Winter Warfare. We begin the feud with Derek St. Holmes, the plot line where Brad Hammers is working for Derek St. Holmes. You split with Brad Hammers.
Derek St. Holmes is a different kind of guy to work. He works very old school, and I love his gimmick. It's the little things that you got to watch for. Derek St. Holmes, before he drops a knee, will actually size you up. And I remember being at a party not too long ago, hanging out where everybody's watching this and that, and high spot this. And we put in an old WrestleMania, and Cowboy Bob Orton sized somebody up before dropping a fist. And I think that is what wrestling's all about. It's about the transitions. And Derek's actually really good at transitions and telling a story and like how the match is going to flow. And we worked together on the whole thing, and I was really actually happy with that match. Mm-hmm. There was only one blown spot in it.
From there, we have a four-way tag. You drop the belts in that match. Brad Hammers is not there. Your tag team partner for the night is Kamikaze Ken. But you did have some of your most insane spots of your career in that match?
Well, I did the dive out of the crow's nest, which was like one of the more craziest things I did. But honest to God, that match was a big ball of suck, as Jason Jerry would like to say. That match was horrible. The train wreck went. It was like the game of Tron, like trying to get everybody moving all at the same pace, and people got lost, and I was just like, holy shit, this sucks. So the finish of the match was great. Like Rockin' Randy pinned Rashawn. I did the dive. We all hit the floor. And the beginning wasn't bad when me and Ken came in. Me and Ken and Stefano, a long time, all had our stuff together. But from there on out, that was pretty aborted.
After you drop the tag belts, we begin the ACW MPW feud with the big MPW invasion. You're thrust right in the spotlight. The ultimate plan is to have you as one of the key players in it. Very early on, you have to fight Black Stallion at Spring Fever. Stallion's a guy who's still kind of green, but you say you had a good match against him.
Black Stallion is a guy who will listen. He's got the talent, he's got the attitude, he's got the look, and obviously he's been in the right places because he works MPW, ACW, so he was in the right place at the right time. And Stallion was a guy that I really could do a lot of power things with him. Stallion gunned me from one end of the ring to the other. I could do the halo and not worry about smashing into the guardrails and not having the guy catch me at all. He could remember spots that were a little bit technical, like I'm gonna hit you in the corner, snap, marry you, flip over you, moonsault on you, and like Stallion was right there, step for step. So like Stallion's got a keen ear for listening, and even at that level, the game is maybe his sixth match or something. He was doing stuff that I didn't do until 2 years into the business, and he could stay toe to toe. So I was really proud of that match, and actually, Black Stallion did an incredible job in that match. I was very very excited about the match. Even when we were done, I was like, great job, man.
Mm-hmm. After Black Stallion, you move into the TV title picture, begin a feud with Shifty. Shifty has the TV belt.
Yeah, I started out, I got attacked, and I was supposed to have a TV title match. I got attacked in the parking lot, and I didn't think this was going to be like, I'm like, oh, the kendo stick. I didn't want it to break apart, because I say the Sandman always his kendo stick comes apart. So I taped it, and I taped it, and I taped it another spot, taped it another spot. The thing was hard as a rock when I got hit with it. Sheriff comes out of the van. I throw a work punch at him. And he never learned how to punch very well, so he socked me right in the ear, and my ear went, ee! So my ear's ringing as soon as he hits me. I go down. Shifty starts beating on me, and they're all beating on me, and the stick's wailing me. I was black and blue. I actually had a cell phone I just bought. The cell phone got all scratched to hell as soon as I hit the gravel. I didn't realize how much the gravel would suck as soon as I ground around in it, and that was pretty unentertaining, to be perfectly honest. It looked good on TV, though, so I was happy with the outcome. But I was pretty beat up after that. We did the whole thing where they were going to pick my opponent. So they had Busty Loads come out. Busty Loads comes out with a sandwich and lisping and throwing a sandwich around and dancing around. And then I came through the crowd and just waffled him in the head with a chair. He actually gave me compliments that I hit as hard as a lot of the hardcore guys that are big in the circuit and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, thanks, dude. Just gave it my all like you told me in the locker room. And I didn't feel too bad because I've seen Ian Rotten honestly turn Peter Cisco into the Dan Aykroyd playing the Coneheads. I've seen him do that, so I didn't feel as bad about the chair shot after seeing the beating he's taken from others. And me and Shifty had a pretty good match, and at the end they actually flipped me over and they put me in a Boston Crab and a camel clutch and bent me in half, and that kind of sucked. I'm flexible, but I ain't that flexible once I got turned in. Then they hung me. Threw me over the top, hung me, dropped me, and I got beat, and they walked out or whatever because there's no disqualification. So, I ended up passing out, whatever. They did the whole thing, and that was one of the biggest pops I ever got in ACW was Kamikaze Ken always says I should do the underdog thing, and I kind of do the little guy, I got big guy syndrome, or little guy syndrome where guy in a bar, hey, shorty, yo, you want to go, and that's kind of like Eric Hammer's, so to speak, in-ring presence. And that was the first time that I used sympathy to my advantage. The crowd really honestly felt bad. The whole team crew picked me up, put a neck brace on me, and the whole place chanted Hammers. And I was like, wow, I should get to crap beat out of me more often. Like, I actually will get more fans this way, and I'll get a bigger reaction, and things will mean more. So that was a match I was actually really happy with. More storyline based, you know, so to speak, than what we actually did in the match.
Mm-hmm. Well, shit, we just jumped right on through this, didn't we?
Next one is me against Shifty for the TV title return match
Okay.
in the strap.
Right after that brutal match with Shifty, you got to come back at Beat the Heat and wrestle him again in a strap match for the TV title.
Yeah, that was actually a really good match. I had a lot of help with Adrian Lynch, and actually I only had wrestled one strap match before. And it is literally hard. You're throwing the guy around. You don't want the thing wrapped around your feet. You're trying to keep it level. The guy goes underneath the rope and out. You have to go underneath the rope and out, and like you are tied together. It just makes it a lot more trickier to work. And we cracked the shit out of each other with the strap, which completely sucked. But we did our part. And I felt it was a fairly good strap match. Lynch came up to the finish, actually, and I was really happy with it. Like, hopped in the ring. He's going to block me, even though I have Shifty down with the Hammers of War DDT. He ducks, I dove over him, and I tapped the buckle, and I got shot out of the ring. I was actually just supposed to leapfrog Lynch, but he shot me out of the ring, and I thought I was going to die while I'm flying through the air. I'm like, Jesus, like, I hit the ground, and then they pulled me back in and beat on me some more. So I got the title, and right after that, I got heat put on me, and then all the babies came out and raised me up. It was good. I got, you know, a good chance, and it told a good story.
And even back then, we were laying the foundation for your heel turn.
Yeah, even though, like, now I'm going to get the belt. Like, even when I was a baby having the belt, I almost talked heelish at times. Like, I was very obsessed with the belt the whole time I had the belt and stuff. So that was, yeah, kind of like the groundwork on it. Can we back up a little?
Yeah.
We never talked about the six-man tag with the GQs and Kruger against me, Ken, and the Hammer Brothers. Because that's where the actual Brad Hammer's turn went. And that was one of the best matches I was ever in. It was super short, too.
I don't think we have that on here.
That'd be right.
I go from season Phoenix
That'd be
to
right
what?
before Derek St. Holmes and me.
I have a pen on me. Well, I'll have to remember that. Okay. No, that's okay. That's fine. Just start talking about it.
All right. One of the best matches I thought I really had was the six-man tag, where it was me, Kamikaze Ken, and Brad Hammers against the GQ Centerfolds and Kevin Kruger. And that's where Brad Hammers actually did his first turn on me, and that's where Derek St. Holmes came out and slapped me around. I actually launched off the bathrooms. I did like a halo over like 20 feet of tile, and I barely got caught. And then they got me good, but like the first time I tried, I kicked Brad right in the face. Like, so, but I was like pretty stressed when I was up there. I'm like, holy Christ, I got to clear 20 feet of tile. If I land on my head, I'd die. And I'm probably like a good 16 feet up. And so I took my two-step dive, and I actually cleared the tile, and I made it. So I was like, oh, thank God. The match was really short. It was really tight. Everyone just worked really well together in the match, and that was one of the actually like the highlight matches in ACW that I was involved in, where there was actually 6 bodies in the ring, and everybody's pretty placed rather well.
We move on to Summer Meltdown 2001. Kind of a throwaway match for you. It's you versus Red Lightning for the TV title. Red Lightning had been on a winning streak. What one of your favorite moments occurred in that match?
I actually made up a spot during the match. Like, me and Red were wrestling. I threw him outside the ring. I started kicking him, beating him. I asked for a chair. I set Red Lightning down in the chair, and I'm like, dude, stay here, don't move. I got back in the ring, and I'm like, okay, I hope this doesn't kill Red Lightning. I did a plancha up and over the top. I smashed Red Lightning through a chair. And that's where I actually started putting guys through chairs. Like, that was like, I'm like, nobody's ever done that before. And we just waffled the chair into the ground, and like Red Lightning's laying there. I'm like, oh my God, are you okay, dude? and he was groaning a little bit, but he survived it. So that was the first time I ever did that. And then we had an MPW run in where they beat me all down, and the Faces came and saved me.
A little later on in Two Rivers, we're running the Loker, Dizzy, Turn Heel, Izzy with MPW or ACW. You get probably what might be your first and last chance to fight Loker.
Loker is one of the strongest guys in the locker room. So when you're wrestling Loker, even the setup for the match, like Loker is one of the guys in the locker room that totally is intimidating. Like that guy would kill somebody in a fist fight if he wanted to. There is no stopping Loker. If that guy was in a bar and somebody started shit with him, I feel sorry for them. They better have a big insurance policy. Because even in the ring when we set up the match and I ran belly to belly with him, like I almost got knocked down just from him walking into me, and I was like, holy Christ. So we had him bounce me around the ring the entire match until I was dead. Loker had been pretty much a heel now because he turned on me. Then he did the turn on Bino. It showed that he was with MPW. There was just a lot of storyline that really, really played into the match that I was happy with, and I survived. Like when he does the thing, he throws you in, shoots you up, and dribbles you like a basketball. You kind of feel like a lawn dart going into the ring, and you're like, you got to be kidding me. Like I'm traveling like a zillion miles per hour straight into the ring. This is just grand. But working Loker is $1 million. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I was really happy with how solid he was.
Finally, the ACW MPW feud culminates into a 3-on-3 match in a steel cage. You're the first one out against Shifty. You have to go the distance in this thing.
I actually didn't even go the distance, and thank God, they had guys coming in. I was good to go in the beginning. Me and Shifty got a ton of stuff in, and halfway through the match, Stallion and Shifty come out. You can kind of see it on the tape. They grab a leg, they grab an arm, they start swinging me. They shoot me up and smash me head first into the cage. I hit the top rope. I flip over, land on my hip. I thought I broke my hip. I had extreme pulled groin muscle. I couldn't wrestle for like a month. I actually thought I had a hernia and was going to need surgery. So the whole rest of the match, if you watch, I can't even put weight on my leg. And then the end of the match came, and I did a frog splash on a Stallion off the top of the cage. At first, I jump up there, and my gi gets hooked on a wire sticking out. So I drop back down. I get over the wire. I get up. Dino does his gimmick. I climb up to the top, and I do my frog splash. And you stand up on the top of a cage and look down, and you're like, you got to be kidding me. It looks like a freaking peanut on the mat. Like, you're so high up, it's ridiculous. And you're like, I hope I don't fall backwards. Like, that's even farther drop. And then I just went, go, boom, you take the blow, and you're like, Jesus Christ, as soon as I hit. Because I had already injured my leg. Loker picks me up, and he actually sets me down. My leg gives out. I almost wipe out in the ring. So I actually couldn't wrestle for a month after that match. I actually bled all over, and I forgot I hadn't had a tetanus shot. Like 10 years in here, I'm getting my bloody face ground into the grate of the cage and everything. So I saw 2 doctors Monday after the cage match, and I was out for about a month. But I recovered, so I'm all good to go.
Finally, you do recover, and you have to put the TV title on the line in Kiel at a house show against the returning scrap iron Adam Pearce.
Well, that match was interesting. The match itself, hands down, I felt totally comfortable with. I had a great time. I blasted my lip open on a clothesline, which I was actually stunned. We did a sunset. I turned around. I was gonna run into the clothesline. I didn't realize he was like moves pretty fast. He's right there and busted my face. My mouth was kind of bloody. Like I felt it in my mouth as soon as I got hit out. My head almost came off. But storyline wise, Adam Pearce is barred none. Told a great story. We even brought the fans up, brought him down. I came up the first half. He came up with the second half, and I learned a lot actually even wrestling him. So I was really happy with wrestling. I took a pile driver on a chair though, and the second time my head slid through and I hit the chair. I split my head open. And Cleo the Valet, like Dino Bambino drop kicked me in the face, the whole 9 yards. And Cleo's like, are you all right? Are you all right? Because I'm bleeding out of my mouth. I got blood running down my head. And I didn't know I was even bloody. I didn't know I was bleeding at all. And Cleo's like, are you okay? I'm like, well, yeah. Like, I'm okay. What are you talking about? Like, my head's a little sore, but I'm fine. I didn't realize I looked a lot more beat up by the time I got to the locker room. Like, I had a fat lip and a big lump on my head, and I was bleeding a bit. But I was okay. It didn't compress my spine. Mm-hmm. So I was a little stressed about the chair shots because I've had like problems with my left arm going numb and stuff. And so Adam hit me in the back instead of the head, so it wouldn't jar my neck too bad. And my arm didn't go numb, so it was all good. And I survived the match. He was easy to work, though.
And the very next night, you start the whole Mercury, Hammers, Byron coalition, your big heel turn.
Well, right before that, I wrestled Kevin Kruger, and I got DQ'd. He sticked me in the head with my own stick. And the crowd, as soon as it, Cleo picked me up again, the crowd, Loker picked me up, and Cleo, because Cleo got her butt kicked too. The crowd was feeling so bad for us and really behind us. And then when the Mike Mercury coalition kicked in, just how the sequence of everything went down, the crowd was pretty pissed. As soon as I turned heel, I put Ken through a table, and I actually came off the top. Me and Ken hit. We went through the table. I thought Ken was knocked out because Ken was laying there. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" He goes, "Yes, I am, brother. How are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, he's okay, good." He goes, "Well, I think I killed one of my balls on your elbow. But besides that, I'm all right." And when I was in the ring, I was sticking him and sticking him and sticking him. And he's like, hit me again, hit me again. And I'm just like, holy Christ, dude, are you going to be sore tomorrow? Your head's going to be a potato. But he said it wasn't too bad. I broke my kendo stick, actually, on his head. But the point got across. The fans were very pissed at me from there on out. And that led up to the Royal Rumble, where Mitch Paradise chokeslammed me. Taking a chokeslam, that sucks. It wasn't too bad of a chokeslam, but when you get above Mitch Paradise, so what is he, 6'5"? Then he lifts you up besides, and he goes, whew, and you just go sailing and bounce off the ring. The whole place was happier than pigs in shit, but I was like, holy Christ, that was nuts. Then Troy Steele gorilla pressed me and gunned me at Loker out of the ring, and I'm just like, God, please don't let me hit the guardrails.
So what's next for Eric Hammers now?
Work as a heel, work as many baby faces as possible. Let some baby faces elevate me. Also, I'm going to find a character as a heel. I'm allowed to say whatever the hell I want. I can be a dick. I can be arrogant, cocky, snotty, snobby, whatever the hell I want to be. And I even think the whole angle is definitely going to get tons and tons of heat. Because Merc came on the Mercatron. I pulled TV. You don't deserve TD. Bino's belt isn't worth anything. And actually, one thing I was really happy about is I heard Hammer's chants when Bino got handed the belt. And that actually meant even more when I turned heel, because I can definitely utilize that to my advantage storyline-wise. But so, pretty much down the road, I want to stay heel for a while. But if the fans, I've had at the NAWF, the fans end up start liking my ridiculousness. The last time I wrestled Jason the Predator and Shauna Doyle's me and Eric Freedom, they started chanting hammers and hammers and stuff just from the retardedness and the ridiculousness and the cockiness during the match. So I'm hoping that will play in, and so when I do turn back face, I'll be a dick of a face, but it'll be easier to work with and way more natural for me.
That works. Straight Edge Eric Hammers, former TV champion, former tag team champion, the Hammers of War. One last question for you, Eric.
Shoot.
You want to get a haircut? Where do you go?
Ben's Barbershop, baby.
This is the Stars of ACW on ACW Home Video.
Well, thanks a lot, brother.